Episode 12 of DreamWorks Dragons Thawfest. What do you think? There's not much to say about it. I mean,
it's a lot of showy masculinity, really.
Yeah, and Hiccup gets caught up in it.
With inflated ego issues and
yeah, it's not loud.
I still think he should have just won because Snotlout really needed an ego check.
That would have put in possibly another arc.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this episode, we see what happened, what sort of environment he was raised in.
Mm-hmm. Which is very toxic.
Yeah. We even see from Stoic and Spiteloud how they were raised. I mean, yeah. Stoic's like, no pressure. Whereas Spiteloud's like, you must win!
Yeah.
You must uphold the family legacy!
Yeah. That was just... I mean, Hiccup at least has the fact that he's the son of the chief, but he's still looked down upon by others because he's a Hiccup. But
yeah. So...
And I mean, he's already proved himself several times, but yet people still look down upon him, which is just a little messed up. I mean, you've got Alvin off to the side who goes, he's the Dragon Conqueror! He must be revered! And everybody else is just like, that's Hiccup.
Well, then again, Hiccup doesn't seem like the kind of guy normally that would go for the glory, usually. Yeah,
I mean, he should have just won!
Yeah.
Could have won. He had it in the basket. And at the last minute, he got all goody two-shoes. This is not me. Honey, you
Who bloody cares?
Honey, you deserve that race. You deserve that medal. Snotlout had how many around his neck at one point?
I counted 12.
Yeah. Not all of them were his. And I personally don't care if his daddy got all sore loser upset with him. He really needed to be put into his place because he's such a...
ass.
Mm-hmm. The toxic masculinity there is so strong.
This actually really touches on that.
Viking culture, yeah. I mean, you can't ignore Viking culture without toxic masculinity.
But this episode especially touches on that.
Yeah, and Astrid was, like, pathetic.
Come on!
She can throw an axe better than he can.
Yeah. Especially in the first movie, when it showed that her weapon of choice is an axe.
Which means she'd have some damn good accuracy. But, apparently not.
For plot reasons.
They threw fish legs in there.
Plot convenience. Really, they made fish legs mess her up every time. Even though, in the first movie, Astrid is shown to be the badass Viking.
Yeah.
First in the Dragon course in the first movie, before Hiccup jumps in.
If she was involved in their last little tiebreaker race, she would have beat Snotlout in the log and the climbing and everything. She would have gotten to her dragon first, and then Snotlout would have done something stupid with the sea stacks and gotten himself out, and then it'd just be neck and neck with Astrid and Hiccup, and then...
Which would have been actually
and then
really
Hiccup would have, of course, won because...
Yeah, the Night Fury.
Yeah, and they're faster. But...
I mean...
They had to make it Snotlout Central, which...
It's Snotlout and Hiccup, basically.
Yeah.
That's my main gripe, because since Astrid is shown to be the badass Viking chick, and the fact that she is...
We already know that she can curb his ego, but...
Yeah, she's done it several times.
But, seriously, Hiccup should be able to curb his ego too, which means he should have won the race.
I can imagine what would happen if Snotlout lost.
He would have cried for a week, and then become a very humble individual.
Yes, he could realize that he can't be an ass all the time.
Yeah. He'd probably get into a fight with his dad, which would probably solve some issues because communication is key, and in that relationship, they're not communicating properly.
Yeah, I mean...
It's just dad being an enabler,
He puts all the pressure on Snotlout, and I kind of feel for the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, so far in this episode, you and I have hated on him, especially you.
Oh, the toxic masculinity really does not help.
Yeah,
I can't
but
stand people like that.
but can you sort of feel for him in this episode?
Only a little. He also feeds it himself.
Yeah, but
he plays into it.
But we can see how he was raised.
Yeah.
In traditional Viking ways, I guess.
And an over-competitive, testosterone-fueled dad.
Yeah.
That does not help.
Although I did like Stoic's comeback.
Oh, yeah. I really like how Stoic keeps him in reign. That was funny.
Yeah. Why don't you give the medal to the boy now, Stoic? Save your son from embarrassment. Why don't you take a seat, Spitelout?
And then he just sits.
Crosses his arms.
I'm a pouty baby.
That was great.
Yeah.
The comedy in this episode, pretty good.
I was half expecting Snotlout at the last moment to crash into the ocean.
Yeah.
With his, because he cannot in any way keep that dragon under control because they are both overly masculine. So their two personalities clash.
Yeah.
Which is why that dragon is constantly, they're constantly ragging on each other. So, like, when he started crashing into all the sea stacks, I have expected him to dive bomb into the ocean and be done. And
first episode, really.
Yeah.
Repeater's first episode.
Yeah, and he probably should have, because that is how he rolls. That is how it works with him.
That would have been a great callback as well.
Yeah, those two take each other out just like the twins take each other out.
Except we expect it from the twins, because they're twins,
Yeah.
and that's where the comedy comes from.
Yeah, they're constantly fighting, and Snotlout and his dragon are constantly fighting too.
Yeah, so, I mean, really, I don't like this episode. I mean, it's a good episode.
Yeah.
I will give it that. It is a good episode, but
Hiccup
I don't
should've
like
won.
it.
That is, like, my biggest thing. Hiccup should have just won.
Yeah.
I mean,
Snotlout
he
would've
was
been-
far too hoity-toity at the end there.
Yeah.
With that little slow-mo realization of, what am I doing?
He
You're
would've-
winning!
That would have actually, if not Hiccup did win, that would have been great to introduce kids. You can win. You can be competitive.
He's disabled, so he's being able. He climbed a freaking mountain, for crying out loud.
With one foot.
He put nails in it and didn't really use the nails, but yeah.
Yeah, you only used them to stop himself from sliding down, but...
But still, he climbed a freaking mountain. He should have won.
Yeah,
With all honesty, because both he and Toothless are disabled.
Yeah.
So, come on, DreamWorks. Get with the program.
Yeah, it's okay to introduce kids to being competitive is alright. Look at our society.
I mean, the problem with the competitive nature is people like Snotlout, who take it too far. Now, granted, Hiccup forgot who he was in the being humble and with humility and whatnot, and got overly zealous in his bragging.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's been dealing with Snotlout all his life.
Yeah,
I would have done the same thing and not felt at all a little bit bad, because if anything, Snotlout deserved that kind of treatment because he's just a jerk.
Yeah, Hiccup, when Astrid scolds him about his gloating, he said, "Hey, he started it
when I was 5."
That is permission to go all out. You have a freaking night theory.
End the turf war. This is a freaking turf war. Yeah. And turf wars need to end. Or else you'll end up with something like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Even though it's family, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Hiccup and Snotlout are cousins.
Yeah. Even though their last names aren't the same, I think Valka from the second movie might have been Spitelout's sister. Yeah. Because Hiccup's last name is Haddock, and Snotlout and Spitelout are Jorgensen. So I hypothesize that Valka was a Jorgensen. Because then we could see in the sort of rivalry between Stoic and Spitelout, like brothers-in-law. Mm-hmm. So,
which really fits in with how they treated each other in this episode.
Yeah, and also
beyond the fact that Stoic's chief, but
yeah, and really, it's a good episode, but I personally don't like it due to multiple issues. Astrid losing, even though she really should have won at least one.
Yeah,
but she didn't.
My biggest problem with Snotlout's toxic masculinity and
Yes, and
overflated ego and other things.
yeah, so
Mr. Brazen.
I can't really say anything more about this. I don't like this episode. It could have been better. A lot better. The animation, though, was alright. I'll give it that. Animation and comedy was alright. We get some good comedy from the twins, Gobber.
Astrid's routine on her dragon was not possible, really.
Yes, the fact that she even did that, and what did Hiccup do? Fly up a sea stack and flip?
Yeah.
On Toothless?
His was pretty awesome. Hers was impossible.
True, yes, but by comparison, even if it was remotely possible, she should have won that event. Either that or the twins. Because that was actually, even though it was funny, it was still pretty good. I mean, they were doing Tough Nut was doing a split on a dragon with his sister on top of him, on his shoulder. That by itself is pretty impressive. So, I mean...
And he didn't scream like a girl when he did the
no,
split.
No, he did.
Yeah. Most of the time, guys squeal like girls.
Yeah, so it... Really, this could have been taken a whole different direction, and that would have made it a lot better. But I guess we'll go on to the next episode. I forget. I believe it's called When Lightning Strikes. So we'll cut this off here. Try to watch it. This is actually a better episode than this one, in my opinion. So let's just watch something that'll raise our spirits a bit. I don't like this anymore. I'm done talking about it. Bye.